We're of course sensitive to the territories and the restrictions that they have to make. Treyarch's always been a firm believer of freedom of speech and expression, and so if in an ideal world we wouldn't have to cut anything. Realistically, some things are probably going to have to get toned down a little bit for Germany. We're going to do whatever we can, though, to make sure it's little as rude as possible. All right. But it's better to ship in Germany than to not ship in Germany, right? I mean. No, not yet. We haven't submitted to the USK yet, so that's still pending. We don't have Move support in Black Ops or Connect. Anytime those technologies came out while we were in production, so and anytime a new technology like that does surface, the teams at Treyarch will investigate the tech. The designers will look at how it might work into a game, and in order for us to put it in a game, it has to make sense. There has to be some compelling gameplay that you can create around it. You know, what we're not going to do is we're not going to just put the technology in just to have the buzzword, just to say yes, we support this. We're going to make sure that that there has to be some compelling gameplay around it. We look at all the feedback from every Call of Duty game, and all shooters for that matter. So we go through a lot of the community suggestions and what they liked and didn't like. And I mean, if it's something that they hated, then we didn't do it, or we fixed it in Black Ops. Or if it's something that they really loved, then we further developed it and made it even better. And so that's sort of the policy we've always had with making games. Is we always include community feedback. It's very important for us. And most of that lives in the multiplayer version, which we're unfortunately not ready to talk about either. We'll reveal our multiplayer on September 1st, so you guys will know less than 2 weeks. You'll know everything about our multiplayer. So September 1st is that date. In World at War you saw it though, like the Dogs of War. That was a suggestion that came out of the Modern Warfare community. They saw dogs in COD 4, and they said that would be cool. That would be fun if that was a multiplayer kill streak. And we're like, yes, that would be fun if it was a multiplayer kill streak. So we did it, and it worked out great. So I mean, that's just one example. Capture the Flag's another. We actually didn't have CTF in World at War about halfway through the project, and then the community really was vocal about because there wasn't CTF in COD 4 either. So they were very vocal about that they wanted to see it return. We had done it in COD 3, so we're like, you know what, we'll go ahead and put CTF in the game. So. Yeah, the community has a huge impact on our games. They're the ones playing it, so we're there listening. If you're posting on Facebook or on our forums, or if you follow me on Twitter and send me a message there, then I hear it all. We actually took all the weapons in our game. We took them out to a firing range outdoors, and we shot them, the real guns, and we set up dozens of microphones. From point blank range, where we would have a microphone set up right next to the gun that we're firing, to all the way hundreds of yards away, capturing that distant sound. And also, we were in a canyon, so we went around a bend of a canyon, hundreds of yards away, put a microphone there, so we could hear what it sounds like to have the sound echoing and reverberating off the walls of this canyon, and that helps us better, create our occlusion technology. So in the game, if a grenade goes off, right in front of you, it's going to sound different than if the grenade goes off while you're indoors and you hear the audio occlude as it comes through the doorway. So we're able to, simulate all that in real time in the game. So yeah, they're going to sound very authentic. Now, sometimes gunshots just sound boring. They're just a big loud bang. It's just a controlled explosion. So our audio department will mix in some metallic sounds and the bolts snapping, and they'll mix in they'll make them sound unique and distinct so that not every gun sounds the same. Yes, so Major John Plaster is one of them. We have Hank Kiersey standing right there, actually. If you want to talk to him afterwards, we could probably find some time. He's been our military advisor. Hank, he's a retired lieutenant colonel from the U.S. Army. He's been working with us since the very first Call of Duty game. So he's got a lot of tenure in this franchise. He's seen a lot of our games. He's seen them grow and progress. Then also, for this project in particular with Black Ops, we have a unit in Black Ops called SOG, the SOG, Studies and Observations Group. And so we spoke to a veteran, Major John Plaster, who was a veteran from SOG. He was actually in Vietnam on the ground in that unit. So he was able to tell us some of the stuff that they were doing, and he actually wrote a book about it. He had to submit the book to the U.S. Department of Defense and have it declassified and all that crazy stuff. But yeah, he was able to tell us firsthand anecdotal stories about what their teams experienced, what they went through, what they felt, what they heard, what they saw, what they smelled, like all these details, so that our designers and artists can try to replicate the exact environment in the game. We also talked to a Russian Spetsnaz operative named Sonny Puzikas, and Sonny taught us sort of their fighting style and how it differed from ours, and actually differed quite a bit. In the U.S. military, basic training, they teach you how to shoot downrange with a rifle and be accurate with a rifle. When you're training to be in the Spetsnaz, which is that elite branch of the Russian military, it's the other way around. They don't start you training with a gun. They train you how to not die. They actually shoot at you, and they train you how to evade gunfire and evade being killed. And then they'll teach you with hand-to-hand combat, and then they'll bring in the weapons. So you need to be lethal without a weapon, and you need to survive without a weapon before they ever teach you how to be effective with a weapon. So that was really cool, and we were able to build an AI type in our game out of that. So you're actually, when you fight the Spetsnaz in Black Ops, they're going to behave a lot differently than any of the other enemies that you've ever played against in Call of Duty before. That's really nice. It's really it's rewarding because the electronic entertainment, interactive entertainment industry is really growing into more of a mainstream thing, and that's awesome because it really is like you pay how much money in back in Los Angeles you pay like $12-13 to see a movie, a 2-hour movie. And here, you can pay just 4 times that much money, 5 times that much money, and you can buy a game that'll give you hundreds and hundreds of hours of entertainment. I mean, it's a far superior form of entertainment, in my opinion. It's not to say movies don't have a place, but it's great to see this industry and this genre sort of being treated like a normal form of entertainment, right? Excepting the Wii, all versions are going to look pretty, very, very similar, very familiar. It's the same engine. The PC, of course, you can crank up your anti-aliasing, and you can crank up your resolution, and you can get a lot more out of the PC version for sure, graphically, visually. But yeah, like the PS3 and PC version, they'll be very, very similar. We do have dedicated engineering teams on each, so we have a PS3 team who specializes in working with those nuances with the PlayStation Network, and of course, the 360 team, they focus on Xbox Live and how any nuances that go with that. So yeah, we have dedicated teams for each platform as well, solving all those technical hurdles. Shooter games just they stick true to the core of what it is to be competitive, and as gamers, we're all really competitive. Like even dating back to like Tetris or Pong, like your goal is to have the high score, or your goal is to beat the other person. So shooting games in particular, they do that no better than beating the other person. That's the ultimate form, is if I virtually killed you, right? So and then with all the different game modes and scenarios that you could create in a shooter, I mean it's no wonder that genre is so popular. Call of Duty in particular, I mean, it runs at 60 frames per second. It's that buttery smoothness. The controls just feel really tight and smooth and natural and intuitive. Like there's so many factors that go into really making what is the great game. And I think that the disconnect here is that if you're a hardcore Xbox player or PlayStation player or even a PC player, they get really attached to their control scheme. And like a PlayStation player, they hate the Xbox controller, or a PC player, they hate any controller. So when there's that disconnect, and so when they look at the Wii and they think a motion controller, they're just like, no way, So if you're not a Wii player, you just don't get it, and people think that it doesn't look as good, so it's not as good. But in terms of the Wii players, it's in my opinion the best looking games out there, like Modern Warfare Reflex and World at War. So for a Wii game, it looks phenomenal, and it does play really well too. Like our team has made a lot of Wii games ever since Call of Duty 3, so they've really been honing in their control schemes and making the control feel more intuitive and natural for the players. So it's a whole Wii team that focuses on that at Treyarch as well. I mean, if you play multiplayer, you can get hundreds of hours into that. I'm single player. You know, it depends on which difficulty you're playing on. We're not finished with the single player yet, so we're just not sure how long that's going to be. It'll be as long as it needs to be to tell our story. We have a really tight narrative that we've developed. It's a very good story, so we want to make sure that you know, we're not trying to inflate it any with just lots and lots of mindless gameplay. Every level is going to serve a purpose in the game. Our levels do tend to be longer running in general. Like the demo we showed you in there was just a portion, and we dipped down to black and we cut things out. You know, one of the philosophies we had with Black Ops is not just, okay, what's going to happen to me in the next level, but it's like, what's going to happen to me around the next corner. Like, that's what we're really looking at, and that's actually one of the challenges with the Wii, is just how big our levels are and expansive, and how we factor that, which is why, you know, we're going to have a separate Wii discussion later in the year. Yeah, there's some different paths you can take. It's don't get me wrong, it's still a very heavily scripted sequence game. You know, we're bringing you through and we're showing you a very specific show, basically, that you can interact with. But I'll caveat that with, like, you can play certain sequences stealthy, or you can take them hot, you can run them live and set up all the alarms. Like, you know, you have that freedom of choice in that regard. But yeah, we're not making a sandbox shooter. Call of Duty's always been about that driven cinematic intensity, so you know, players come to expect that from COD. We wouldn't dare change that up. Yeah, it wasn't scripted. That was a fully destructible building, and there's going to be lots of those scenarios. The way we take destructible environments is we're not set out to let you level the entire battlefield. There's a different game for that. But what we want to do is, if something makes sense and you'd think, if I fire a rocket at that, it's probably going to blow up. It'll blow up. So like you saw, Rizzo probably shot a rocket at the hut where the AA gun was in BC, and the entire hut just, you know, exploded and all the pieces went flying. I mean, you're going to see that. There's lots of cinematic set pieces all throughout Call of Duty, and you can expect a lot of that. So yeah, there's definitely more cool shit in the game. Now, I don't want to spoil anything more than we've already shown, but yeah, you can look forward to some more fun stuff in the single player and multiplayer. I believe so. Yes. Yeah, it's actually the first time I've heard that question today. Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm pretty sure you can, and we could in World at War. So yeah, I think the answer to your question is yes, unless the USK makes some rule that says we can't.